Oh.
Yes. Welcome to 3inMidfield Podcast, the podcast where three friends who all had dreams of being professional footballers dashed away as children when they all discovered food have their say on the Premier League. Arsenal have just finished their game in the Europa League. They have gone through 3-2 in aggregate. It was a 1-0 loss at home, but the 3 goals away from home has guided them through to the next stage of the Europa League. I have got, for the first time ever on my podcast, a wonderful guest, a guy that I've met recently, a good guy, a wonderful guy, an Arsenal fan, unfortunately for me, but I do call him an Arsenal fan anyway, so it is what it is. Rivaldo, how you doing, bro?
All good, man. I love that intro, man. It was very heartfelt, man. I appreciate that, Michael, man.
Gotta give you the respect you deserve, man. You're a cool guy, and
of course, man.
We'll talk about your team. So obviously today you've gone through to the Europa League. So for, next stage, which is the quarterfinals, let's address that first. Arsenal haven't won the European trophy, and of course you went to the final a couple of years ago against Chelsea. For you, how important is it that you've gone through to the next stage? Is this a trophy that you desperately for yourself as a fan want to see your club lift?
Well, to be honest, I'll be real. Most importantly, I think a lot of Arsenal fans. I can only speak for myself right now, but I'll be honest. I think a lot of Arsenal fans will be in agreement with me when we say the main European trophy we want to win is the Champions League. So in terms of whether or not this is a trophy we want to win, yeah, we want to pick up the trophy, but I think it's more about getting that Champions League place rather than us actually being Europa League winners. You know what I'm saying? So. To some degree, it would be nice to win the Europa League because, of course, the trophy is a trophy and it's something to put on your belt. But I think most importantly for me anyway, and for many Arsenal fans, it's just about getting that Champions League place, getting back to where we belong because it's been too long now, man. We've been suffering, man. Too many Thursday nights, man. It's not nice. It's not nice at all. We need to get back to where we belong, man, because, yeah, and everyone wants to play Champions League football. And I think a team like Arsenal, with the history we have, the legacy we have, we need to be playing Champions League football. It's just not acceptable to be dilly-dallying around in the Europa League for too long.
So let's talk about today's game, which you have come away with a W.
Yeah.
But I say you come away with a W. Obviously, you lost the second leg 1-0. The most important thing is you've gone through. But let's talk about the goal you conceded. What do you think went wrong there? I have my own thoughts, but from a fan's perspective of the club, what do you think went wrong with the goal that you conceded?
Look, you can look at it from a lot of things. There's a multitude of things, I guess a lot of people will say maybe that's a biased mistake initially because that's what allows them to get on the break. A lot of people will criticize Gabriel's his actual defending of the chance. He really kind of laid off of him, and just put his arms there. He didn't really try and attack the ball in any way. But to be honest, for me, I'm going to take it a little bit bigger than that. I think overall, going into the game, I don't think Arsenal were focused at all. I think a lot. You can tell by just the general pattern of play, the fact that when they were passing the ball in possession, there was a lot of careless things, a lot of careless touches, a lot of things that we haven't really seen Arsenal doing in the last couple of games, specifically the Tottenham game and, of course, the last leg, the first leg against Olympiacos. So most of all, I think if I had to give an overarching reason, I would say definitely just a genuine lack of focus from the team. Of course, if you want to pin it down and be more specific about it, you can go to the mistake and you can say in that situation, defending 1-on-1, you learn, you need to take the player down the line, take him away from the goal, don't let him cut inside. But, Gabriel really kind of sits with him and gives him the opportunity to go in his right foot and hit it. If it was me in that situation, I'm not saying I'm an excellent defender, but I'm wise enough to know that I'm not going to let this guy cut inside and then get an opportunity at a goal. I'm definitely going to take him on his left peg and see what he's able to create from there. But, so yeah, that's the only way I can break it down, man.
I agree, because for me it was baffling knowing that you played Olympiacos last year in the same stage. Obviously a different result they went through, and the same man that actually scored today scored the goal that knocked you out. So I was hoping, obviously, with the players having the experience of playing against Olympiacos, especially against Socrates, who's a former Arsenal player who only just left as well. I would have hoped that as a neutral watching the game that they would have learned their lesson and would have just known his strengths and weaknesses, really analyze this game and would have stopped that. But as you said, I think that's a basic thing of defending. When someone's coming into the box and they're from the left side and they are right-footed, the one thing you don't want to do is let them inside. That doesn't make sense.
Exactly that.
Many players do that. Now, on the Arsenal side, there's one player I want to discuss because today he's disappointed me. I am a fan of his, to be fair, and that's Aubameyang.
Oh, I knew it. I knew
Yeah,
it.
well, I don't think I'll have to talk about him this way because I have, on one side, have a sympathy for him. No, he's playing on the left. In Arteta's sort of first sort of half season before his full season, he still scored about 30 goals, didn't he? He had a good return from the left
Something
side.
close to that, yeah. Something
Yeah.
close to that, yeah.
Had a good return on that side. He's obviously been a striker all of his career, most of the time anyway. But this season, he has been a bit hit and miss. He obviously had stuff going on personally within his life, his family, his mother.
Yeah,
But he's past that now. He scored a hat-trick not too long ago. But in this game, what was going on with Aubameyang? What was happening with the finishing?
bro, man, that's literally a question that only Aubameyang can answer, man. The fact of the matter is, I don't know. Honestly, I really couldn't tell you, man. I'm tempted again to refer back to the focus thing, whether it's an element of when your head's not really in the game, so you're kind of taking your chances for granted, essentially, and you're not really putting them away or being clinical like you normally would. So again, I think it is partly to do with that, but really and truly, I really wanna just say it's just one of those games as a striker. Sometimes how it goes. When you play a game, it's some things just don't go right for you. You miss one chance, and then you continually miss a number. I think the hardest chance he had was late on in the game when who was it that crossed it in? Oh man, I think it was Martinelli when he came. I think he crossed one ball in from and he tried to back it in. That was probably the closest one. That was probably the only one that went on target. But that was the hardest chance I've been. And sometimes in football, it just goes like that. It's the life of a striker to go up and down sometimes. Because really and truly, part of this game, he's been in quite a good form. He's been bagging the goals in. Like you said, previously got a hat-trick. So I don't want to say, okay, now he's having that dip again. Hopefully not. Because if he does, it will find it really difficult to be successful or make any success out of this season whatsoever. So I'm just going to put it down to one of those games. I just think, yeah, like the team, like most of the team, he just wasn't with it today. His head wasn't really in the game as it should have been. So yeah, his focus was kind of dwindling a little bit, which is why he missed a lot more chances.
Fair. Now, before we come back to your club, I just want to point out that your North London rivals are currently in the process of bottling it. They're playing in Zagreb. They won the first leg 2-0. However, Tottenham are indeed losing 2-0 right now. It is in the 105th minute, which is extra time, first 15 minutes.
Bro, I love this game.
That.
I love this game. I love the sound. That's music to my ears. Music to my ears. I love it. I don't know
what to say about Tottenham right now. They didn't play well against you guys. You guys deserved that win, by the way, on the weekend, 100%. There's no argument or dispute towards that. If they lose this game as well, I have tried to defend Mourinho because I know the Tottenham players, a lot of them are not good enough. But this would be in terms of, I know they've got a lot of good players like your Kanes and your Sons and all that. But then you look at the other players, your Dyers, your Winks, you agree? Disagree?
Bro, no, I do not agree.
Go on, tell me why.
Bro, at the start of the season, I'm pretty sure the board backed Mourinho to sign a number of players that he got in, right? So who did they sign? Højbjerg
came in.
Was it Reguilon? They brought him in as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I can't remember. Is there any more than that? They
signed I think 2 or 3 players on loan to buy. So Carlos Vinicius, the backup striker to Kane.
Yeah.
Did they sign anybody else after that? No, I actually don't think they did. No, that's it really. Because otherwise than that, in January they brought like Justin Fernandez on loan. He's already gone already. Yeah. Steven Bergwijn came in January when we still had fans. So he's another one that's been very poor, to be fair. But yeah, go on, please continue your point anyway.
Well, so if we're going to go off the premise that the board has backed him and he's happy with the players that he's brought in, because I don't think at any point he made it clear that he wasn't happy with the transfer window. There were a lot of players that he wanted to get, but he didn't have the opportunity to pick up. So we're think about it like that. We're going into the season. Well, Mourinho's going into the season with a squad that he's happy with. Yeah. So we can't now say, oh, he hasn't got the players, or he hasn't got the personnel that he needs in order for him to be successful. They've got a good enough team. They've got a team that should really be challenging for the title. Their front three in itself is deadly, one of the most deadly in European football. So going to the midfield, they've got Dembele. They've got Dembele there. Højbjerg is a good player. They've got him there as well. Who else are they playing in the midfield?
The one player they are missing who hasn't played, he's been injured for a while now. I don't know actually, I don't even know what injury he has, but he's just been injured for a long time. It's Giovanni Lo Celso.
Come on, man. Lo Celso. I'm not
No,
sure. I'm not sure.
Lo Celso is a good player. Obviously, he hasn't shone the way he did at in La Liga, but I don't think a good player turns bad overnight unless your name is Eric Dyer, of course.
He's a good player, but he's not a player that's gonna be the determining factor in whether or not Spurs are successful or not.
That's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? It's going to be Gareth Bale, Heung-min Son. It's going to be Harry Kane. It's going to be those players. They've got a good enough team, man. Even they've got Lloris and goal again, a staple in their team. They've got a good centre half pairs in Alderweireld and I haven't seen Vertonghen. I haven't seen that.
No, Vertonghen's gone. Sanchez is now the.
Oh, Davinson Sanchez, exactly. They got good enough players in there, man. I don't think it's fair to say now that Spurs should be struggling at all, man. No, listen, if they're struggling, then the blame has to go on the coach. I've never been a big fan of Mourinho. I think at this point in time, he's past his prime and well past his prime. Like I'm not sure why Spurs signed him. That's not really the type of team. I don't think that's the type of team that suits him. Do you know what I'm saying? He really benefits more teams that are willing to splash out cash every single second, just bring in big name signings. You know, teams that are willing to pay the money to get the talent in. You know, to be successful, and that's not really Tottenham. Daniel Levy isn't a chairman who's necessarily going to go out there and spend 200 million in one transfer window to bring in all players, to bring in a number of players who, you know, in European football are doing quite well. They're just a team who, you know, they'll pick up a few players here and there, but most likely they want to save as much money as they can, especially when they just redone their stadium as well. So I don't know. I think this one has to go on the coach. I'll be real.
I think that's a fair analysis. I think you've hit the nail on the head in terms of when you analyze the team. There are a lot of good players in there, and the way they were playing earlier this season to more recently, where they've started to play a lot more, I would say, quote unquote, attractive style of play, where they're a lot more attacking and the fans want that a lot more, utilizing the likes of Bale. Now he's getting a lot more game time. Son and Kane, obviously, have always been getting game time anyway. So I do agree, but at the same time, I mean, it's in the discussion for another day. But me personally, I'll sell up to 8 to 9 of those players in that team. Hugo Lloris being one of them, just because I think he's getting towards the end of his career as well anyway. But to be honest, they beat my team 6-1, so why do I care? Let's get back to Arsenal. All right, so far, you obviously through. We do not know who's going to get through out of Dinamo and Tottenham so far, still in the balance. Granada are through and as are Roma. Now, in the other games, as I just said that, Tottenham are now 3-0 down. Right. Wow. So, as I was saying, I am reading the other fixtures right now. AC Milan and Man United have started. That is a 0-0 so far. Rangers and Slavia Prague is a 0-0. Villarreal and Dynamo Kiev are 1-0 to Villarreal, and Young Boys and Ajax is 0-0. Just 2 more questions for you before we wrap up. First one, would you count yourselves as one of the favourites to win the competition?
I definitely think out of that pool of teams you just read out, that we're definitely one of the better teams there. I think just playing in the English Premier League gives you a decided advantage over most teams in European football anyway, because we're obviously playing in my opinion, the English Premier League is the most competitive and the most difficult league to play in European football. So just being in that league and being able to, I guess, I don't want to say contend, because we're not contending for the title. But to some degree contend, I guess, or to some extent contend, gives you cachet and gives you a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of clout, let me say, when it comes to European competition. Okay. So would I say one of the favourites? Oh man, I don't know. I'd have to see the draw first. I think I'd have to see which opposition we come up against in the quarterfinals. If we can get to the semi-finals, depending on who's still there, you know, I'm guessing that Man United will probably get through as well. I thought Spurs would be getting through, but that's not looking likely. So forget them. So then, I mean, who else is there? You got AC Milan. They're not looking too bad. Ajax again, they're a good team. You know, they were doing pretty. I think they got to semi-final Champions League a couple of years ago, right?
Yes,
so again, but they lost a lot of players. But again, they're still, you know, you never know. They could be a surprise. Anything can happen in European football. But I think I would say we're definitely. I guess I would say one of the favourites. But yeah, in order for me to really be sure about that statement. I definitely would need to see who we get in the upcoming rounds because I'm still not 100% convinced with this team just yet.
Okay, in that case, that leaves. I guess we give you two more questions. Then, first one would be just simple answers. Just one team, one team, one team you'd like to go against in the next round potentially, and one team you'd like to avoid. Just be one of each.
Oh man, one team I'd like to avoid. I'd probably go with either Ajax or AC Milan.
Okay.
Probably one of those teams. And
Mhm.
I say that because what I feel like with that Arsenal team, they have a tendency to sometimes play down to opposition. Because I think Arsenal are a better team than Ajax and AC Milan anyway. They're not
Okay.
significantly better, but I still say they're a better team. I feel like if they can go to those teams and beat them if they play to their if they play at their maximum potential. But they have this they can't shake this tendency to sometimes, just play down to opposition. Even like today, Olympiacos is a team you should just easily dispatch. Any good team goes into that game 3-1 up, and in the first 15 to 20 minutes, they apply pressure, maybe get a goal, but they make sure that they crush that team's hope. They make sure that they give that team no chance or no indication of a comeback, anything like that. If you're sniffing a comeback, no, we're going to cancel that out. We're going to get a goal and make sure we put you in the dirt, put a nail in the coffin. But with Arsenal, they just don't seem to be capable of doing things like that. That's why sometimes I'm just like, man, I almost want them to face a challenge. So,
Mm.
like, for the second part of your question, I guess I would say I probably want to face one of the best teams. So, I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, are you're able to face English clubs in the next pool, innit?
Well, it depends. If we drew 1-1 at home to AC Milan, so that's in a way going their advantage.
Oh
So
man,
it
well,
depends, really. It depends. But just even look, AC Milan United are currently still in it anyway, so you can pick anyone that you'd think you'd want to.
I'd like to go against United. I think that'll be a good game. I think that's a game where Arsenal will respect the competition, most importantly, and respect their level of opposition, which
Mm.
of course will lead to them actually playing better. Because listen, like I know Man United. I'm no disrespect to Man United. Man United are a good team, and I do think Man United have a better squad than Arsenal right now. But I feel like as if Arsenal could beat Man United on their day, I feel like they could beat Man United over two legs. And like I say, that's no disrespect to United or anything like that. I just
Mm.
feel confident enough that if we played to our best, which I think we would, if we got that type of draw, then yeah, we could definitely beat them. But hey, man, I guess we'll just see what happens. But yeah, in terms of teams to avoid, one of those suspect under the radar teams who sometimes just have a tendency to just keep going and get to the last stage and just end up winning the whole thing. So like AC Milan or an Ajax, that type of team, I think I'd want to avoid.
Okay, and the final question for me is: so an Arsenal fan, Igal, shout out Igal, part of the Football Terrace. His statement recently was, if you guys finish 10th, but also win the Europa League, that for him is progress from last season when you finished 8th and won the FA Cup. Do you agree or disagree with that statement, and why?
Man. Um, I don't know. Man. I think
It's a
I
tough one.
mean, it depends. Like, it really depends on what like, I don't want to get technical about it and like almost become philosophical, but like, it really depends on how you define progress. Like,
How do you define progress?
I mean, for me, like the ultimate barometer of performance for Arsenal is the Premier League,
Okay.
not the Europa League, because
Right.
that's the constant thing. The Europa League is always fluctuating in the sense that the what's it called the power shift varies because obviously the teams that are in there in the previous year might not be there the next year.
Mhm.
Some teams who previously performed well in the previous year may not perform well next year. So I wouldn't really use the Europa League as like an indicator because obviously opposition's always changing. Do you know what I'm saying? You can't really say, yeah, just because they won it this year. It's very possible that if they win it this year, they just played bad teams and they got all the way through. If Arsenal if Arsenal end up playing Slavia Prague or Rangers in the next round and they whoop them and then they get to semi-final and then play another bang average team and then play a bang average team in the final, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, they played three bang average teams, so therefore they definitely got better as a team because they won the Europa League.
Mm.
No, I'm looking at the Premier League because it's only three teams that go up, three teams that go down. For the majority, the teams that were there the year before are still there now. And I even think the Premier League, would I say it's more competitive this year? Oh man, or let's
Tough one. It's a tough one because
no, no, no,
I was thinking about that as well, but then I always compare it to the previous years, and for me, I always say I feel like Premier League is not as great as it used to be. Not that it's not great. When I say that, people think I'm saying that it's not good. No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think the Premier League is still definitely one of the best leagues in the world. That's without question. But when I say it's not great in the sense of when we talk about competitiveness, yes, there were times where Chelsea would run away with the title. Arsenal went unbeaten, so they ran away with the title. There was a time when Man United ran away with the title. City did as well. They got 100 points. Liverpool did it last year. It happens. But in current years, the gaps within the top four themselves have been extraordinary. You talk about City winning the title, 100 points and then 98. Incredible. But then falling off so far behind the Liverpool side, who obviously got 99 points. Incredible points again. But City being as good as we believe they are to be should not fall off, and the gap shouldn't be that big. And it's just continued in years. And I've always said I've never had an issue with the champions. If you win the league, you've done your thing. No one can come and argue. But with the others, it's always a question of, are you there because you were definitely the second best team? Or are you there because you were inconsistent, but everybody else was just more inconsistent than you?
That's a good point.
Yeah, so I don't know. But with you saying that you would base it on the Premier League, so you would say that will not be a progression if you go from 8th to 10th, but you have
no. If we ended up finished 10th this year, then I can't say this team has progressed. I genuinely I don't see how. I don't see how falling 2 places, and I think the Premier League this season is even more inconsistent than it was last year. I think a lot of teams who last year were struggling suddenly now they're what's it called? You know, they've elevated to the point where they're fighting for European football. Like, I mean, obviously Leicester did what they did like a few years back, but you know, like Leicester shouldn't be where they are. The fact of the matter is, in terms of level of score, they shouldn't be where they are. West Ham arguably shouldn't necessarily be where they are. If you're just looking at it on paper, obviously they played well, but you know, if you're looking at it on paper solely, they shouldn't necessarily be where you are. You know, a lot of teams have been increasingly inconsistent. Liverpool have struggled. You know, they've had a lot of injuries, so I'm not necessarily going to dig them out and say, oh, you know, their one season when was just a fluke. I think they're really finding it difficult this year, obviously with injuries. Last year they were lucky because everyone pretty much stayed fit. That's why they were able to be so consistent throughout the whole year. But this year they're really finding out like how harsh football can be, man. One year you go riding high, and next year you can just, you know, fall back down to earth and just be humbled. Like, it's crazy. But in a season when so many teams have faltered, even Chelsea started well, but they're faltered. United have had periods where they're faltering. Tottenham periods where they're faltering. For you to still finish 10th and still not be able to capitalize on all those opportunities, nah, I can't say that us finishing 10th compared to 8th last year would be a progression. I don't see that. I don't really see that. But again, I respect his opinion. I can see where it's coming from in it. Obviously, winning Europa League would be good. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I don't think that would be progression.
Fair. Well, I will go as far to say that I believe Tottenham are going to be out within the next minute. But Rivaldo, thank you so much. This your first podcast?
Yeah, first podcast, man.
First podcast. Well, I think I speak for everyone when I say you've been a fantastic guest on the first podcast. Expect to invite to the next couple of podcasts that will happen. There will be an invite for you soon. We will be back on Monday as usual. There's not a lot of Premier League games this weekend. We don't really care about FA Cup on this podcast though. We do review Premier League games. Yeah. So we will talk about I think it's Leeds Newcastle. We will talk about West Ham versus Arsenal. We will be talking about Tottenham versus Villa, and I believe there's another game there, but quite frankly, I'm not even going to look for it right now. But Rivaldo, before I leave, plug yourself. Obviously, your @ is on the description, but for the audio people, just tell them your Twitter @ if you feel free to.
Yeah, of course, man. So Twitter is @Rivaldo267. Very, very simple. Just my first name and 267. You know, so get at me there, guys. You know, if you want to follow me, it's there, man.
That's it. And if anyone struggles to spell Rivaldo, well, you just go.
Oh yeah, R-I-V.
Oh no. I was gonna say, listen, they should know their football because Rivaldo is a Brazilian legend.
That is very true.
Exactly. And you've got a legendary name, so.
Why was I even spelling it, man? You guys should know me already, man. Come on.
That's as simple as it gets, my brother. That's as simple as it gets. For anyone else that knows about 3inMidfield, of course, you're here on YouTube at the 3inMidfield podcast. So that is the YouTube channel. And of course, 3inMidfield, just the number 3 and in midfield for your Twitter, for your SoundCloud, your Spotify, and your Apple Podcast. 3 midfield. Been another episode of 3 midfield, and can I confirm that Tottenham out? Yeah, they're gone. Good night.